Welcome back to another episode of Eagles Weekly. Here are your hosts, Brett, Haas, Mac, and Jack. How we feeling, fellas?
All right, so there were some technical difficulties right off the rip, but we'll.
That was great.
Hey, I think that was good, Brett.
I think it was really cool.
You nailed it, man. Oh man, exported that from like my Final Cut this morning, so I think we're getting there. We're getting there.
All right, well, Eagles Weekly, episode 12. Joined today by international marketing guru Mac Hutchinson. Our ACC athlete Jack Cyberlick will be on in a second, and a very special guest actually. When I started really getting into media or the podcast game a couple years ago, it was always kind of like a goal of mine to be able to collaborate with you, AJ Black of 24/7 and Locked On Boston College. So thank you for hopping on with us tonight.
I've been listening to you guys for the last like 3 months, and it's been great. So I was pumped to, I've been sitting with you guys up in the press box, and gave me the opportunity, and I was going to jump at it. There's no way I was going to miss this.
AJ, we've been listening to you for like the last 4 years, so
yeah,
I'm sorry.
Always, it's not your fault, but the leader of, good leader of the BC community here. So I'm so happy to have you on.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Let's talk BC.
Yeah.
I guess to start, especially talking about like, the press box, it's kind of it's an interesting dynamic for us because we are, we follow the team so closely, and we have to kind of root for them a little bit more on like the hush hush, but being up there, I guess, what was kind of some of your initial thoughts, like going through when it's like 20-0, for example, like what was.
Oh, I was getting text from my wife, and she was like, she's like giddy. And I was like, hold on a second. Like, yeah, they haven't put together, as Bill said, they haven't put together a full game all year. And I was like, just hold on. I'm excited too, but we got to see what happens here. And, we followed this team long enough to know that they can break your heart in a whole bunch of ways. And they did it again on Friday.
Oh yeah. I feel like we're very quiet in the press room, which is technically what we're supposed to be. But when they miss that extra point to only go up 20-0, which you would think, very comfortable. But every BC fan I know was just cringing at that miss and being like, man, this is going to bite us in the butt down the line. And sure enough, down 4, you're just thinking, man, wouldn't it be a lot easier if they had to go for a field goal instead of trying to, go ahead with a touchdown. So, it was so BC, which I think what made that loss and defeat so much more painful, because it was the most BC collapse, ever almost. It's like, it's hard to imagine different ways they can lose and give you heartbreak, but that was a perfect example that Friday night. And here we got Jack to kind of, probably agree with us how painful that loss Friday night was.
Yeah, that sucked. So I didn't realize we were going to be live. Sorry about that. No, but yeah. I don't know if you guys mentioned, but it was like the polar opposite of the Virginia Tech game. How getting off to that start. But yeah, what a disaster. That was crazy. I mean, my God, like. Yeah, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt anything, but yeah, go ahead.
You're good. I think one of the biggest things for me too was, especially like right before the end of the first half, Louisville scores a touchdown, and it's just like, here we go again. Of course, they give up the late touchdown right before the half.
The double dip.
Yep. A little bit of momentum, and even when it was 17. I know we were talking about it. I think going into the fourth quarter, it was 27-17, I think. And we were talking about AJ's replies and how it's just like, dude, relax. Like, they're up 10. It's like, do you just hate fun or what? And just bit us all.
I mean, I knew it at the time when I said that. I was like, this is going to come back and bite me. But I just had to be positive. I mean, you got to be positive when it's happening because it's so few and far between when you can be. That's like, guys, it's 2 scores right now. Just be happy for 5 minutes because it's going to fall apart soon.
Yeah. There's very few times you're up 20-0. And then still, though, to know that, well, next time we're up 20-0, there's nothing to cheer about. But, yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but I had a feeling it was going to be very wonky based off the first quarter when Tommy was 3 of 7 for 54 yards. And I'm like, that's such a weird stat line. I think it was 7-0 or whatever it was at that point. And I was like, this is going to be a weird game. Like, just based off that, I just had a feeling that it wasn't going to be. And, typical BC fashion, it wasn't going to end the way we wanted to either. That's just how it goes. We know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Bill said it after the game. Like, they were only moving the ball on gadget plays. They couldn't do anything. And like, they were still up 20-0 at one point, but he even knew like this offense isn't working right now. It's that's why there was that, they had the ball with like a minute 15 before half and he just sat on it and just went to halftime because he knew that more likely than not, he was going to give the ball right back to Louisville and they'd score again,
Yeah. He mentioned that in the presser too, how he was saying like, yeah, I mean, our offense in the first half was gimmicky. Like, we're lucky that they went up. And you looking back, you're kind of like, yeah, they kind of were. There was a few turnovers at Louisville, why they were able to get that, big lead in the first half. And then, like you said, AJ, I think that was something that a lot of us were questioning probably, or going into that half. You're up 20-7. You got 3 timeouts. You got a little bit more than a minute there. You're thinking, you might as well at least try. Maybe like, if you don't get the first down, you're running out the clock. But it seemed like they didn't even try, which I don't know. What do you guys think? I think for me, that was one thing that kind of killed a little momentum because you knew Louisville was going to get the ball to start the second half.
Yeah, well, I did see like Bill's quote about the whole we were like scoring off of gimmicks kind of thing, and like you don't really notice that kind of thing in the moment, or at least I don't. I'm not I don't know. I'm not in tune to like the intricacies enough to notice that kind of thing. But looking back on it, you used to see like the Kamari Morales touchdown on 4th and 1. How you're like, oh, that was like a kind of a, I don't know, it worked. It was like gimmicky play, so it makes sense in a way, like why Bill wouldn't want to risk with all like the timeouts on the board, like turning a 20-7 game to a 20-10 or a 20-14 game. But it is disheartening, like thinking about like the kind of offense, like theoretically, that we should have with a team with what we think is a dynamic quarterback and multi-use back in Treshaun Ward and Lewis Bond, who's kind of like not disappeared from it, but like he's not producing the way we want him to be. So like it's hard like as a fan when you see like you think the talent's there, but it's just not like clicking in the way that Bill or we wanted to. So they are kind of like relying on the gimmicks kind of thing. But like in the moment, it just sucks. Like, oh, like why? Like you're just conceding a whole minute and a half into halftime. But yeah, just this a little bit disheartening there.
I'm looking at the agenda. You put whether it was Halfley to blame or Will Lonnie.
Yeah. So I put this together too fast.
No, that was actually my note. I put in Jack. That was kind of a joke because I was like, "Who's to blame?" Like I took it as like, "Who's to blame for this whole situation?" And I was like, "Well, it's still Jeff Halfley's recruits and Will Long's decisions on the court." This was more of like a joke, but
I don't know. Did Halfley let up any 20-point lead? Give up any 20-point leads last year?
No,
I don't know.
No, this was as bad as it has gone in most recent memory. I can't think of a bigger collapse in recent memory at all. So that's just. But I wanted to add, Brett, did you agree with that 3 timeouts, eating those going to the half in the first half?
I mean, yes and no. Like, obviously, you want to try to be aggressive, but it's like AJ said, they weren't really moving the ball like at any sort of, pace that would lead you to believe that they would be successful. And with Louisville's offense, it looked like they had just woken up. So the last thing you want to do is allow them to virtually triple dip, because it's like they score the touchdown, they either get another touchdown or a field goal, and next thing you know, they get the ball coming out of the half. So that's a huge swing, when you're looking at it in that moment. So what do you think, AJ?
Yeah, I think, I mean, the offense, there's a stat called EPA, which talks about basically the efficiency of how the team is doing.
Mhm.
And it was crazy because you watched the game and BC only lost by 4. So you're thinking like the game was pretty even, but the EPA, like how effective Louisville was versus how effective BC was the third most disparate numbers in all of college football that week. So it just showed that those like gadget plays and the turnovers were the only things keeping BC from getting blown out in this game. So that kind of just like, it goes back to what he did at the end. It stinks because lying in that offense is just not doing anything. And I'm sure you guys have talked about numerous times, Tommy seems like he's regressed,
right?
And they're just not explosive. They can't do what they did last year. And so I kind of get it. It's kind of cowardly at one point because like you want to like get the points, but you can't. You also can't, at that point you can't just give them like the opportunity because I would imagine the way that they were moving the ball, they would have gone 3 and out in probably about 10 seconds and given them the ball back and we'd be yelling about that.
Right?
And I would have punted the ball about 20 yards.
Exactly.
Louisville would have the ball about on the 40.
Turn the ball over. Yeah.
Speaking of Will Lonning, though, like, so we talk about it a lot, and it's critical, of course. I'm kind of curious as to what your kind of thoughts on like him as a play caller is, because I feel like a lot of times when I'm being overcritical, it's just being like an armchair quarterback. It's a lot easier, to sit on your couch and say like, oh, your play calling sucks, but I'm kind of curious as to what your thought process is like in regards to it from like a high level view.
Me or
yeah,
you want me to go? Okay.
Yeah,
sorry. I didn't want to like jump in again.
No, I don't care about these bozos.
I'm just waiting for basketball season. So yeah, I'm just.
Yeah. So there's been so many types of plays that just are not working, and he keeps calling them. The bubble screens are just brutal to watch.
They drive me crazy.
Like
we haven't had a screen all year. Yeah.
Lewis Bond, as we're talking regression, like he's had the weirdest season. I don't know what's going on with him. Like he had that one game against Western Kentucky. We had 7 receptions for 21 yards and a fumble. Like he doesn't look like himself. And like I don't know. I don't know what it's just something's not clicking with the way that they're calling this offense. And it's got to be Long that's got to be able to figure out how to fix it if he's going to be the guy that's going to get it to the end of the season. Because they clearly haven't changed anything in the last 2 days.
Right.
I know some people are probably thinking about it, but haven't heard anything. But like, Tommy's I love that they're trying to make him a quarterback, right? Like that's great. And his numbers are better, but in most cases, but like the fact that they like basically neutered like the one thing that made him special in order to make him that. I have a hard time with that because like he's a 5'9" quarterback and like, you'd love to see him throw in the pocket, but at the expense of running for 1,100 yards and making him the dynamic player that a lot of people were talking about last year, I don't think that's a great trade-off. And I don't think what he can do throwing the ball is worth that changing taking away all that because like, you guys have watched this. Like he just can't do what he used to do. He's getting caught. He's waiting in the pocket way too long. He's reading things. He can't make the throws. He's, it's tough to watch because we know what he can do, and they've kind of taken it away from him.
To your point too, it's like a lot of his throws, a lot of his success through the passing game comes from his feet, whether it's like he's running the ball and then the defense kind of focuses on him as a runner and he's able to find open receivers. And also like when he's able to just move around and he's because he's really not a pocket passer. He's never has been.
Right.
And that's not what he's successful at. So like you said, it's like they're like trying to turn him into one. It's not as good. And then you're completely diminishing like the strongest part of his game. And even last year, he really wasn't a good downfield thrower. Like we saw it all year when he tried to stretch the top, he really couldn't do it. I don't understand why you want to all of a sudden try to make him that now.
It's mind-boggling, to be honest. I mean, you go from, like you said, AJ, 1,100 yards on the ground last year to like he's not even able to get a few yards now on some of these runs. It seems like I'm looking at the numbers: 2.9 average against Virginia Tech and Louisville. The games before were even worse. 1 yard, 0.9 yards, 1.2 yards. It's just he's not able to run at all. And I could see even against Louisville, they were doing a few designed runs, getting 2-3 yards, getting stuffed. So I don't, there's two things that I have no reports on this at all, but it almost made you think like after that injury that he had that week off, which we still don't really know what that injury was. Is that in his brain? And then my second thing, which I think is more reasonable, is like you're saying, this coaching staff getting him to really train over the offseason, just stay in the pocket, and really become that, pocket passer has maybe it's just thrown him off his game, where he's like not relying on his natural instincts and relying more on trained instincts. And maybe he needs to develop that, further on. But it's obvious that this year so far, that is getting in the way with his natural abilities, because last year this offense was flowing, man. He knew exactly who he was. The offense knew their identity. And now you're kind of just a static offense that is one of the most inconsistent offenses, which is even more frustrating because it's not like it's just a bad offense. We see glimpses of what it can be and how beautiful it can be, but then they just fall flat. And I think that's what's really frustrating for fans, because like they see the talent, they see the ability, but they don't see the consistency, and they haven't seen it for 8 games now.
I think one piece that doesn't get talked a lot about is, and I think it's impacting a lot of his runs too, is the graduation of Kyle Hergel and Christian Mahogany. I think there's a huge jump. I mean, it's a huge step down to Jack Conley and Logan Taylor. Logan Taylor, I think, should have been playing. I mean, you can't move Jude Bowery right now, but he's a better tackle than he is a guard. He can't do the pulls that the other guys are doing. And that, like, just that middle of the offensive line, it's causing issues, and it's not, they can't hold the blocks that they used to hold. Like when you had Mahogany, those guys are maulers out there, right?
Right.
They would get those spots open for him, and they're not doing it this year, and they're not getting any push up front. So that's it is a lot on Will Long and the offensive calls, but that offensive line isn't doing him any favors either.
Yeah, that's a really good point, AJ, because I'm just thinking if the staff is also seeing that, then they're thinking, okay, if our pass protection is a lot more solid than our run, our run, then okay, I'm going to be calling plays more along those lines than I am quarterback sneaks or anything up the middle. So, I think that might be a part of it for sure, especially in practice. If they're, they're doing all these things, they're seeing, hey, this is where our strengths are, and this is the talent pool we have. But at the same time, it does, in a way, contradict some of Tommy's natural ability, which is frustrating because it's like, it's there. It's just, it's not all meshing consistently.
Right.
I think my last point on Tommy is I just really have to hammer home this point that he does not need to be benched or taken out.
No.
No.
Like,
Is that even is that a talking point? Are people saying that?
There's chatter. There's definitely chatter.
Oh yeah.
The
You should see my message
James
board.
fan club is
it's all over AJ's message board. It's ridiculous.
He went 7 for 16 against Western Kentucky and got bailed out by Ezeraku, and everyone thinks he's like, put him out there with that off. I don't know, man. Like he would get killed. Like, I don't know. I think a lot of folks out there that report on this fall in love with him playing against second team defense in practice, and like, guys, it's a little different. Well,
I remember even in the spring game, Brett, do you remember watching that where he was like, Tommy was like a little rusty, and
it started,
James making throws against like the second team. They're like there were whispers in the crowd there.
He was tearing it up. He did tear it up,
but
he did tear it up.
Yeah, but no, that just can't happen. Maybe with when that kid Shaker comes next year, we can talk about it. But
right,
I don't know, we'll see.
Threw for 550 yards.
Yeah, I saw that. 8 touchdowns.
8 touchdowns.
Yep.
Yeah, I put that in. I need to hear we'll get into that, AJ, because I want to hear obviously your recruiting kind of spiel.
Yep.
But yeah, shout out to
Yeah.
Shaker Racing. Oh my god, like the 8 touchdowns in his latest game again on Friday night. Holy crap!
Which is so funny. My writer Mitch Wolf was at was the Mizzou game. He went through. He lives in Colorado, so he went through and he went to the game. He saw Rysick play, and I think his like 2 of his or 3 or 4 of his wide receivers were out, and so Mitch ended up watching him throw. I think 12 passes in for like 100 yards, and they just basically turtled the whole game. And he's like, I don't know what these guys are looking at. And then all of a sudden I'm showing him this. He goes, why the hell wasn't I at that game? That throws for 550 yards and 8 touchdowns. I would have loved to watch that.
Yeah, that's video game numbers. That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
And a name like that too. That's an NIL deal waiting to happen when he gets up here. So
Salt Shaker NIL money or something like that.
Yeah.
There's something there.
Kind of on that note, I remember in the press box, AJ, we're walking out kind of defeated, obviously. And I mentioned how like we're kind of just talking about like what is this like kind of outlook look for BC football? And I think there is like a total talent deficiency as far as a lot of the things that Bill O'Brien wants to do. I mean, he brings in this coach. You know, I had this feeling was like his big focus this year was obviously get the coaching staff that he wants, get all these things in place, build a certain structure. But there's a clear, I mean, like we've all been saying, none of these guys are his guys. They're all Jeff Hafley's recruits, even the transfers. None of them are his. And there's a clear, I think, not deficiency in talent because there's obviously talented players on BC and they're very hard workers and great student athletes. But as far as like what Bill O'Brien's looking for and the type of player he's looking for his scheme and his, you know, mentality when it comes to football. And that's kind of what, I mean, maybe that's the hope that I have where it's like a lot of these deficiencies and consistencies are coming from there's a thing that Bill O'Brien has and a philosophy he has and a scheme he has, and there's just not the right players and the player types to do that. I don't know. That's kind of was my feeling going out of that loss. So the most positive way I can spin it coming out of that. I wanted to hear what you guys think. I mean, because that's kind of where I'm at right now with the outlook for BC football.
Go ahead, Brett. Good.
No, all I was gonna say was, I mean, more or less like when we talked about Jeff Hafley in the portal last year, right? And all the
Portal Jeff.
Seemingly, Portal Jeff, and all the damage that he did, it really hasn't worked out the way that he like. Jaron Bradley he was on the sideline, you know, during the red zone.
He was put up numbers in the Big 12 last year, wasn't he?
I mean, his freshman year he had like 700 or 800 yards. He played
35 snaps that game. Mitch and I were talking on our podcast. He was just doing cardio work out there because he's running routes. No one's throwing at him.
I don't. And
he's only 6'5". Like,
yeah, right.
Same with McGowan. Like they were like kind of like and they were the two kind of prized like recruits that they brought in. You know, and
Zero snaps.
And he has no yards, correct? He has like a catch for no yards or something on the entire
2 bubble
season?
screens, and I think he has like -2 yards receiving.
That's incredible.
He hasn't even played at all. He hasn't played like all season.
That's phenomenal. I wonder if we can lease him back to South Carolina after all, because I mean, great. He returns kickoffs, but he hasn't brought one back to the house yet. So but my point is that for all of the transfers that were brought in, and at the time they seemed like it was a beast class, right? But the only one who's really worked out, at least offensively, I mean, Morales has definitely stabilized the tight end position.
Absolutely.
Trayshawn Ward, you know, and like that's really it, at least from an offensive perspective. You know, I understand that Cam Martinez has, you know, been playing on defense stuff, but he
played well at Virginia Tech. I feel like he hasn't done.
And that was one good quarter.
He got exposed against Louisville this last week. He had real trouble. But you look at all these guys, and especially like McGowan and Bradley, and they're playing John Montague out there, like a converted quarterback who they just converted to wide receiver like 2 months ago.
Right.
and he's getting
Throwing him
snapped.
balls on fourth down.
Yeah, I don't know what. I don't know
No,
what
that was the exact thing I was like got me thinking about that, AJ, was like where you have Montague playing, like, who used to be a quarterback, by the way. You have him slotting in. I'm thinking it's like, what? There's a clear deficiency in like some of these things that they're trying to do, and it's almost like, well, then why are we doing some of these things where it's like, if we don't have the players for them, we need to maybe make some adjustments here, because they clearly, it's almost like they can see them do it once, and we've all seen them do it once, but they clearly can't do it consistently. So, and Bill O'Brien is the king of being like, hey, you got to be able to do it consistently. You got to execute consistently. There needs to be, there's clearly something that's not, happening there with it, as far as being able to do it and having the ability to do it, and then be consistent on that.
So I found out Mitch and I were watching the tape, that it sounds like Skeet got hurt. He only played 16 snaps, and then Montague came in for him.
Right.
I think it was the second touchdown he came off limping. And so, but it goes back to, like, again, like you were saying, Mac, like the depth, like, you're putting Montague up there, but like, I don't think he's like the most talented guy, but where's Dino Tomlin? Like,
Right.
He knows how to play wide receiver. Montague is just learning the position. Like, if you watch some of those last plays, Louis Bond's yelling at him what he's got to do because he doesn't know what he's doing out there, and you're choosing him over some of these other guys, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. So, yeah, the portal was a big whiff on that. I don't know what's going on with those two guys. And Bradley, he is 6'5", but you got to say, like, either Castellanos has no faith in him because he won't look at him, or he's not getting open. It's one of the two, because he's out there. He played 35 snaps. That's second most for wide receivers, but he had 0 targets. So Castellanos not even looking at him.
I didn't realize he was out there that much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he played a lot.
0 targets, which is insane for the amount of snaps he took. And great call out for Dino Tomlin. It's like he was one of the most like consistent and like kind of clutch players for us down the line last year. And then he's been an absolute no-show, not even on the field for a lot of the time this year. Yeah. So you're just scratching your head on a lot of this stuff where you're like you guys said, Portal Jeff, bringing in these players, they've pretty much either aren't getting snaps, or when they're getting snaps, aren't even getting any targets. And then some of the players last year that were consistent, whether that's Dino and whether that's Tommy in the run game, had just fallen off, the face of the earth. So it's a lot of head scratching, especially after a loss like that.
Mm-hmm. I do remember in the like before the season started, we were talking about like the wide receiver room, and we talked about it. It looked like deep on paper. Like, we're like, oh yeah, we got like this guy from Texas Tech, Bradley. We got Louis Bond coming back. We got this guy, they call him Shake McGowan from the SEC. But it feels like Tommy's only thrown to like Trayshawn Ward or the tight ends like Franklin or Morales. Like, it's just so shocking to me, like what the production has looked like from the wide receiver room like recently. And it's just like, I don't know if it's like a play style thing, or like the kind of thing that like it's just not the type of players that Bill wants, or like a chemistry thing. But yeah, it is just a little bit head scratching, like you were saying, Mac.
McGowan's been really interesting because going to a lot of the summer camp, like watching him, he never got up past the twos. He was always with the twos. And I just wondered if there was something weird going on there. Like, I don't know, like he was always with James, and Bradley was too, but Bradley got dinged up early in camp. So I just kind of assumed it was him kind of working it back, but
yeah,
right. It really hasn't changed all that much. And like, you never saw him make big plays with Tommy. So that kind of stuff, it clearly is bled over. But yeah, Reed Harris is the other one too, because he had a huge summer and I haven't seen much. Like, he's become more of a tight end now. Like, he's in there for blocking. You see him make some routes and a play here and there, but like, he's not the consistent wide receiver that it looked like he was going to be.
Especially when he had a couple like huge catches in the first couple games, and I was running my mouth about it, and that didn't really go so good.
Yeah, that's your guy, Brad. That's your guy.
Buy stock now, right?
Yeah, still buy.
We still buying?
Yeah, it's still low. It's still
low. Buy low.
Yeah, buy low. It's like GameStop. Just buy it all.
It seems to me that we're all pretty much in agreement with the offense. It's like a lot of head scratching, a lot of inconsistency. I wanted to get especially when AJ, we have you here. My take on the defense has been mostly positive this year. I think for me, really, besides maybe the Virginia Tech game, they've been pretty consistent, and I've been enjoying watching Tim Lewis's scheme as far as like bend don't break, but it's not like the Halfley bend don't break. It's like you actually don't break. You actually keep them out of the end zone. Especially the secondary has been pretty good at keeping them out of the end zone. I think this past game too, they're obviously put in some bad situations, but overall, I think they've been pretty consistent this year. And obviously, I think Tim Lewis is also dealing with a talent deficiency and doing the best that he can do with that bendo break scheme. I don't think that's who he exactly wants to be with his defense. I think he would love to be a little more aggressive and do some more design blitzes. So I understand what he's doing and why he's been consistent. I don't know. Is that everyone's kind of feeling too? And AJ, just kind of with the defense, I think they've been pretty consistent. And I think Tim Lewis has been pretty successful with his first year.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're totally right there. They were one of the best teams in terms of keeping scores out of the red zone, right? Like if they're in the red zone, they're one of the best. But like one of the big issues, like Mac, like you just said, is he wants to be aggressive, but that defensive line, other than Donovan Azaraku, cannot get pressure at all. Like they blitzed 42% of plays against Louisville and had a success rate of 24%, which is bad, really bad. That means like every time that they blitzed, once out of 4 times, it was successful in terms of getting any sort of pressure on them. They had 1 sack in the game. Like you're that other edge position. But either if it's Akpala, and I don't want to get on Q Hutchins because he had some big plays, but other than those plays, like he couldn't. His pass rush was bad too. So like he doesn't have any bullets in his chamber to do anything with that. He's trying different things. He tried Hutchins. He started Quan Williams at defensive tackle, other than not sitting George Rooks at times, playing Owen Stodmeyer. I don't think they have it. And back to one of our earlier points, about not having a lot, like that has to be the biggest need in the transfer portal this offseason. Like they're going to lose Azaraku, and I don't know who they got left. Like they've got a middling G5 defensive line next year if they don't do something, because
you can tell they're freaking out too, AJ, because what you just tweeted out today too. 3 defensive linemen that they recruited in class of 25. I mean, it is going to be a huge drop off next year, and it's really because of one guy, Azuraku, who has been the most successful on the defensive line. But yeah, as far as Tim Lewis is, like, I think he's like they're pretty harsh, especially a few of those losses with him really bending on some of those drives. But it's like he's very limited in what he can do, and I think there really is. At the end of the day, he's just got to try and keep 7s off the board.
Yeah, I mean, if they could get any pressure, I think this defense would be a lot more effective. But they can't.
Right.
Like you see it with Azaraku when he finally he hasn't had a sack since the Western Kentucky game, I think it is.
Yeah,
because the teams are just scheming away from him now. They're just moving the quarterback away from wherever Azaraku is.
Correct.
And it's exposing the weakness that they have, which is that they don't have any other guys who can get to the quarterback. So, I look at what what Lewis is playing with, and he's got talent, like at certain positions. Like KP Price is really good. Like he's a really good player, and he's going to be special. I mean, even Omar Thornton, who I thought he's a kid that Jeff Halfley landed probably like a week before he quit. And he's really good. Like he's going to be a guy too. So they've got some guys. It's all spread out. So like they got like 3 or 4 safeties. Like Carter Davis, I think, could do something, but like you don't have anyone on the defensive line. And, Owen McGowan looked good in this game. I thought he had some pretty good plays, but you're still needing a little bit more depth at linebacker. So I would love to see Tim Lewis get some dudes in the portal, because he needs it next year. It's going to be a big issue.
And I think especially in this game, you look at the second half. Let me see right here. They had three straight drives in the second half, 3 and outs, and Louisville scored touchdowns on the back ends of those twice. So it's like this defense, is being done zero favors by the offense. It all intertwines back to the offense. The offense isn't staying on the field. They're not doing their job, and the defense is right back out there. And especially when Louisville's starting to heat up, and it's just that's how a disaster happens. That's how you lose I think they were 27-10 at that point before Louisville came back.
Yeah, outscored 31-7. That only happens if your offense can't even put a couple first downs together, because that takes a lot of time to score 31 points. And they had all the time in the world because BC couldn't stay on the field. It was just three and out. And yeah, it's again consistency, and it just, oh man, talk about not being able to put up a 60-minute game. I mean, that is just, it's brutal. 8 weeks in, you thought, I think this is another thing we kind of talked about this last week too, but the frustration from fans kind of comes from, with Bill O'Brien, you thought a lot of these things that we've seen in the past under this kind of new leadership, you weren't going to see. You weren't going to see, 8 weeks in, maybe a couple weeks in, he's a new coach, but 8 weeks in, not being able to put a 60-minute game together in the last 3 games, and then also to be so inconsistent and not have your identity on offense when you had an identity on offense last year. It just, it seems like there's every week the thing that you're, thought you had kind of falls off. Then you have other issues like punting, which we really probably should actually mention, because that punting last week, and I think AJ in the booth, you mentioned this, it's every punt was a turnover in that second half. So when you say, there wasn't any turnovers in that game, there was 4 or 5 of them, and they were all our punts. When you punt 22 yards and the other team gets the ball at their 44 or midfield, that's a turnover. Honestly, you're better off throwing an interception deep because these punts were that atrocious. So it's always something. That's kind of the name of the game, I think, this year. There's always something.
Before we comment on that, I think we need to recognize Jack's hair as the perfect depiction of what the second half and the feelings were for BC. I just wanted to throw that out there. I appreciate you, Jack.
You of course, you did compliment my hair last time, so I figured
I did.
Yeah.
As a guy who's losing some of my hair, I'm kind of jealous, Jack.
Thanks. My mom's has been on me to cut it, but I think as long as BC struggles, I think I gotta reflect the state of the program.
I think you gotta just ride it out at this point, man.
Yeah, if Ivan Zavenko's averaging 33 yards a punt, I don't think I'm cutting my hair anytime soon. But
oh man,
they got Candotti back in there. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, that's such a. I don't I'm not plugged into I don't have any sort of insider info, right? But the Candotti situation is just kind of weird to me because wasn't he injured or just not dressing or something in the past few weeks? What's his kind of situation?
Mac, you and I were at practice it was for the Mizzou game, I think, right?
Right.
And they stopped practice to go do basically an open kicker punt thing outside, and he wasn't part of that. It was just those other guys, and now all of a sudden
the whole punting situation is bizarre and doesn't make any sense. And yeah, AJ, like you're saying, even summer practice into the beginning of the season, there was clear sessions, especially in the Tuesday practice, where they were just doing punting drills. And the punters, by the way, were booming the ball most of the time at practice. So again, it's maybe these coaches are probably way more frustrated than us, because it's they see a certain thing in practice and we see that certain thing in practice. And then when it goes to the game, it's completely evaporated. So, obviously they see more than us. We only get to see Tuesdays, which is nice that we even get to do that. But the punting situation has changed. It doesn't make any sense. And that's probably been the most inconsistent thing when you're talking about inconsistency. Or maybe it's been the most consistent because it's been consistently bad.
I just don't understand how you have 3 or 4 punters and all of them are just atrocious. That to me just
it's Power 4 school. There's only 40 of these schools. You got to be able to find a punter that can boom at 50 yards. It's inexcusable at this point.
You're telling me there's not one kid on campus that was a soccer player in high school that can't do it?
I mean, you look at the guys that they have. Isn't Zavenko was he the one that's a transfer from WPI or something like that?
Yeah, I think so.
I think
Where is,
so.
where is he from? I know he's a weird. Let's see.
I mean, I didn't know his name until he was put in. Like
Bryant.
here.
He was from
Bryant. That's
Yeah.
right. Because it
And
was what? Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, then you got Candotti, who's Australian, so he does the
Mhm.
Aussie rules kicks. And then you got Sam Stone, who came in as a kicker, and Liam Connor, who's a kicker. So you really, I mean, you got punters, but they're all kind of, I mean, it's punting, so you should be able to punt, but I miss Grant Carlson.
Yes. Me too.
It's pretty sad. It's pretty sad when you're just like, yeah, I miss the old mainstay punter.
And not just punting too. We actually did make. Did we make a field goal this game? We
Nope.
went.
No,
No, we
we
didn't.
missed an extra point.
We attempted. All right, we attempted our second one, and then we missed the field goal. I mean, the kicking across the board has just been so BC. And when I mean so BC, you know, it's been. We've always had this problem. We've never, like, besides who was the guy that was the most consistent for BC kicking wise. It's
Nate Freese.
Yeah, Nate Freese. Besides him, this has always been a consistent problem for BC is finding a solid kicker, and it's maybe the northern school. No one wants to kick up here north, but I don't know.
When Bill O'Brien got hired and they were deciding who they were going to keep for coaching, I was like, Matt Turn's going to be definitely one that's going to go, because like the special teams weren't
that good.
They weren't. I mean, it wasn't great, but like you figured he was going to make a move there, right? Because like
Right.
the offensive guys, I can get it. Like your offensive guys have been okay. You got most of your offense still here,
Mhm.
but Matt Turn, I was like, interesting.
Yeah.
And then they kept him, and like it's just gotten worse. I mean, they don't do anything right on offense. I mean, on special teams, whether it's punt returns, like was it last week that Isaiah Ferris almost got murdered out there?
Yeah.
'Cause he wouldn't fair catch anything, and they can't kick a field goal. They can't, all that good stuff. So it's, I don't know.
I was surprised by that too. The Matt Turn thing, AJ. I thought my thinking on that was like, okay, because Bill O'Brien came in late and he's like, okay, all these kickers are obviously Matt Turn's kickers, and I'm not going to be able to bring any other kickers. Might as well keep them. Maybe that's a rationale there, but outside of that, you're kind of like, yeah, it wasn't ever good, and now it's way worse. So I'll leave it at that.
Yep.
It just kind of sucks because I feel like when Bill O'Brien was brought in, like that was kind of what we were sold on, is that a lot of these things like were going to be eradicated, and we weren't going to see stuff like that from like BC teams going forward. And it's kind of like that's kind of how it was with Jeff Hafley when he was brought into. I don't know if it's just if Adazio just rotted the culture like to the core, and that's just what we are at this point. Is like we just have real shitty special teams and meltdowns left and right. I don't know. Like I don't know. Like I feel like every time we think we get the savior that's brought to us, and it just sours so quickly. And Bill O'Brien's 8 games in, so it's way too premature to say that this is what his legacy is ultimately going to be. But it just kind of sucks that we're dealing with this.
It sucks that we're at this point where right now, as someone who like covers the team, like I'm just like waiting for like off season, because I'm dying to see what he does. Like I'm dying to see like
full off season. Yeah.
Like the coaching staff, like who's he going to retain? Like, he said he wanted to keep this whole offensive staff, but I feel like it was just because he had to.
Right.
And like, then is he going to gut it? Is he going to go for it? And then with the portal, like depending on like what Meter Perel podcast you listen to, he says different things about what he's going to do with the portal. Like he was just saying last week that he didn't want to take anyone that wasn't a senior or grad student. I'm not there to believe him there yet with that, because I think, and he was also saying that no one's going to transfer, which I think is a load of crap too. But I got to watch what I say, because I'm going to get yelled at by Bill again. But
you can write that, age.
But I just look at like the roster, and there's a bunch. I mean, there's a bunch of guys that are upperclassmen that are just not playing. And I'm like, they're not going to stay. He's saying that there's not going to be an access. Like you look at a guy like, I'll just throw his name out, and I don't know what his situation is. Guy like Jalen Cheek, who came into spring ball as the starting safety, and I don't think we've seen him play yet.
Yeah.
Is he going to stay next year, or is he going to hit the portal where he could probably find a new spot that he can play? I mean,
I'm
you
kind
could read
yeah.
the tea leaves, but
Yeah.
you
I'm
know,
kind of with you, AJ, with that take, because like my kind of hot take has always been like I'm waiting for that full off season because he had a very short off season, and he understands media where it's like if this is the reality of my first season, I have to say what I have to say to get through this first season.
right?
And I'm also thinking like he's a smart dude, and he's very. I mean, as far as contacts go, I mean, this guy's played under Bill O'Brien, under Nick Saban, and with Tom, Coach Tom Brady, and some of the best players in the world. So it's like, yeah, when he's not going to just sit back and not use NIL, not use the transfer portal. I mean, he's not going to have people that are on his roster that aren't like you're saying, AJ, being used or at least on the practice squad. I mean, so a lot of these things, I'm thinking there's going to be a massive turnover. I think in the offseason, he's going to be using that transfer portal. He has a certain way too. When you look at someone that's been and where he's played, he has a certain level of what he expects as far as talent. And when you go into BC, I think you really understood. Okay, obviously that's going to be not even close to where I expect it. And with the benefit of the transfer portal NIL, you can make those leaps. We've seen that with other teams with the talent, and that's what's super exciting. And the more and more we go down this, hey, are we even going to go to a bowl season? My brain's just going immediately to the off season because that I think is the most hopeful thing for BC fans to look at. It's recruiting, it's the transfer portal, and it's giving Bill O'Brien, who is very well connected and understands everything we're talking about, what he's going to do in a full off season.
Yeah, I mean, like even like you look at like the comments he made about the portal. His last meter episode, the one where he ripped me for a good minute. But I deserved it. I was wrong, so it's okay. I had the yardage wrong. And
which still, by the way, I'll say I got to back you up on that, AJ. Whether it was 4th or 6th or 4th and 13, it was the wrong call. But we'll keep going from here.
You live, you learn. But if you listen to what he said, right? He said the exact word about the portal that he talked about was that he only wanted to bring in grad students and older guys. If you look at what Hafley did, that's basically what he did. Like BC is not going to bring in developmental guys through the portal. Like most of the guys that you bring in are guys that you expect to play day one, right? Like if you look at all the guys that Hafley brought in last year, like Ryan Turner isn't playing, but he was supposed to. And Jordan McDonald is probably the only one that wasn't like slotted for a role. Like Grayson James,
right.
Even, he's a backup, which I still think is a role, right? Like that's a guy on your 2 deep. So like everyone they're bringing in is going to be a guy that is going to play. I think that's what Bill's saying. Like you're gonna build in through recruiting all the guys that are developing and going up through the years, but you're going to fill in your needs through the portal with guys that can contribute day one, like I don't want to say polished guys, but guys that you can throw in the field right away.
I also think he obviously hasn't found his quarterback yet. He hasn't recruited a quarterback yet or brought in a transfer quarterback yet. And I think you're definitely seeing that with Tommy because Tommy is not, when you look at all of Bill Bryan's quarterbacks, Tommy is not that quarterback. He trains the pocket passer. He has a certain way in how he wants to develop a quarterback. He hasn't found his quarterback yet. He hasn't brought that in. I think like when we talk about, okay, yeah, the Bill O'Brien honeymoon phase is over. But as far as giving Bill a chance, you got to at least let him get his quarterback and get a few years of recruits, classes of recruits in here before we actually fully judge him. And I think, yeah, at this point, it's a waiting game. And at least for the 2024 season, you're hoping, all right, let's try to get to a bowl game so we can have another game of exposure and development, basically.
I think on that note, AJ, before we let you go, I know you got a family to tend to, but and I guess just in terms of recruiting, are there any names, outside of Shaker, that you think BC fans should kind of be excited about that's coming in or on their radar?
Yeah. So there's a couple guys I think you guys are going to want to watch for. They've got a couple good running backs. I think that's going to be really exciting because they're going to lose Trayshawn and Kai after this year. They got Makai Dodd, who's from Catholic Memorial, which is like their pipeline. Like they've got 8 guys, I think, either coming or from that school.
Yeah.
He
Yep.
is. We talk video game numbers. He's putting up video game numbers. He broke his.
Wonderful.
I think he broke his leg or had a knee injury last year, so he missed all last year. So he went under recruited. So he's not a guy that has a huge offer list, but he's completely healthy now, and he's totally carrying that offense. He's a guy that's coming in. He committed to Halfley, but he's stuck on. Actually, no, he committed to Bill O'Brien. Sorry, it's Nolan James, who is the other running back from New Jersey, who's also putting up a big season. He committed to Jeff Halfley, and he's also coming. So they got 2 good running backs that I think folks are going to get really excited about. I really like them. There is a tight end coming from California, Stevie Amar, who also was hurt at the beginning of this year. They got him over like Baylor, BYU, Cal, Arizona State, like good offer list. He liked BC, and he came in as their second tight end. So it was like they have Tim Lewis's son committed. He's like 6'7", who's a tight end from Georgia.
Wow.
He's exciting, but I'm more excited about Stevie because I think Stevie's going to be a bigger player. He's a name I think, and they've got. I think the secondary is getting there. Like it stunk that they lost Amari, but I think the depth is going to start to show up soon because they have 8 defensive backs coming in, all of them really fast. So Shaker Reisig's teammate, Ashton Cunningham, who is a track star, fast as hell, plays in Oklahoma. He's coming. They've got Marcellus Townsend, who is Tim Lewis's son's teammate. He's coming up. They've got a bunch of they're all track stars too, which is great. I love speed, right? Like you want speed. BC needs speed. So they've rebuilt the secondary. I think that's going to be a key factor because like as you're seeing like you love seeing guys like Ashton McShane get out there and you know cut their teeth out there, but you need some more depth. You need guys that can go out there and play. And now you're going to see that you can have bigger classes. That's a new NCAA rule. So right now, BC is at 24 commitments with the kid that they just committed today, Sterling Sanders. They flipped him from Georgia Southern. They have 2 more coming that haven't announced yet. So one of them, you could obviously tell if you have been paying attention. Spencer Dickow, their general manager, put out an Irish flag. If you were paying attention, you guys can say, do you guys know who I'm talking about? Or I thought it was really funny. So it's a punter. And this one I can tell you because they're not hiding it very well. It's a kid from Ireland. So they're going to have a punter from Ireland coming in who watched that game and must have been like, hey, I can fix this.
And start day one.
Start day one. I honestly, I went in with the mind frame like I would, if it was me and watched that, I would have been like, I don't want to be anywhere near that train wreck for special teams. But many people were saying, like my wife, I think was saying to me, she's like, yeah, but he could watch that and go, I can start now and be better than that. So, I think that one's very clear and he should be coming in. And there's a flip that's coming, which a flip means he's committed to elsewhere and he's committed to a Power 4 school. I can't tell you who it is. It's a local kid. And so that's coming as well. So they've got a lot of things coming. And the roster is going to get bigger, so they can get up to 100. They can get up to 105 next year with the new NCAA rules, and they can take a recruiting class as big as they want, as long as it goes under 105. So, Bill can keep adding if he wants to. I don't know how much he's going to hold on to so that he can get transfers, but they're shooting at 26 right now, and I know there's a few other names that they're still looking at too. I mean, could go up to like 30. Could be a big class. So he's going to start getting his guys in soon. And like Reisig, he's going to be an early enrollee. He's coming in January. And that's going to give you some depth too. So it should be interesting.
I think that'll be the biggest thing to kind of watch for is like just how many high schoolers he takes in, how many spots he leaves for the transfer. And I think that'll kind of tell you like just how much he values, what he values more than the other. Does he value bringing in high school kids or the transfer portal? So I think that's going to be a big telltale sign. Yeah,
totally. I think you're right, Brett. Like that's going to be, like we were saying I was saying to Mac, like that's what I'm fascinated to see. Like one of the many storylines we're going to be watching in like, 4 or 5 weeks.
Because he was at Penn State, but this is his first off season with the new NCAA, right? Like, how is he going to build a team under the new guidelines, and what approach is he going to take? So I think that's going to be kind of fascinating for us to watch, especially if the season continues to go the way it does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wish this was less depressing, right?
Yeah.
Four games left, and we're already talking about off season. Depressing.
AJ, I really appreciate you hopping on. It's been awesome having you.
This is like feeling like I'm in the press booth with you guys, just
Yeah,
shooting the breeze, right?
just shooting the breeze and just trying to be positive, but it's hard these days.
We're just missing the clam chowder, Brett.
I had two bowls.
Did you?
Did they serve clam chowder in the press box?
Sure
Oh, yeah.
do. Oh, they sure
no.
do.
With hot sauce.
No way.
Mhm.
Wow.
The food was weak this week.
It was
Broccoli and beef.
Yeah, and rice. No.
Yeah. Anyways.
Mac, you're muted.
He doesn't know.
Yeah.
He's still
going. He's still going. Mac,
you're muted.
Muted.
Was I muted?
Yep.
Yeah.
Wait, I was just asking AJ real quick before he goes. Injuries, Amari Jackson. Have we heard anything on Amari Jackson or any of the new injury information? Because I haven't heard if he's coming back or not. Or if
Amari's out for the year.
Okay, that is. Okay.
Yeah, he tore his ACL.
Oh, that's okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, at Cam,
brutal.
Cam was in a sling, and Bill said he was
Cam's the one. Yeah, that I'm confused
day
about.
to day. I'm so scarred from Jeff Halfley with that, so I don't know if that means he's going to be back or if he's going to be out for like 2 years. Because Jeff would say guys like day to day, and they'd be out, with like a torn.
Do you think the ACC will change that? You know how the SEC makes you like have to do a real injury list? I mean, that would be pretty nice. For the
On
ACC.
one hand, I would love that. That would be great content, great
for media, I should say. Yeah,
it'd be nice for everyone to know. But remember who we're dealing with here. This is a guy that worked under Bill Belichick.
Yeah. Even if that was a rule,
he'll just be like questionable.
Another one would be actually out. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
What about Turbo? Did we have any update on him?
We don't know yet. Yeah, I don't know if we get. I don't think it doesn't sound like
awful too.
Bill seems like he's in a mood the last week because I haven't seen anything about a Zoom, so maybe he's just like, I need a break. From the vicious Boston college media.
Yeah, right.
Vultures.
Yep.
Yeah, we're probably not going to hear anything until like a week from now, I think. But,
probably not.
Yeah. Word. Awesome, AJ. Thanks so much again for coming on.
Thank you, AJ.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
You too, man.
Thank you. Man. Thanks.
Thanks, AJ.
AJ of Locked On Boston College and 24/7. Check him out at AJ Black.
Eagle Insider. He's got all the good recruiting information on his site at Eagle Insider, so definitely go check that out.
Yeah, that's like a morning coffee staple for me. Like every morning.
You guys ever go on his message boards?
Yeah, it's a bloodbath.
Boards are hilarious.
Fucking bloodbath.
Especially when like recruiting thing, because you have like the coaches like tweet out stuff, and then I guess we just flipped. Like I should just mentioned, we just flipped someone, and the boards now are like just all. Who is it? It's good. It's good stuff.
I actually wanted to ask him about that.
I'll tell you, I was locked into it when the whole TJ Power thing was going on.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I was on vacation in Mexico with my girlfriend.
Yeah, you were. I forgot about that.
I was checking my phone because
that was a lot of drama that night.
Yeah. You had to fire a friend of the podcast, Beacon Street Ball.
Yeah, Beacon Street Ball, dude.
Not to air out his laundry like that, but no, that was actually my first time ever seeing him in not in audio form. I never watched his YouTube live.
Yeah, it was
he's a good dude. We were sitting next to him at the game in Louisville, and we all funny. We didn't even have to talk, but we all kind of had the same feeling, even when we were up 20-0. We were like, "Oh, that extra point miss." Oh.
I was hiding in the first half because I didn't have a fucking laptop, so I was like, I can't like sit up here with no laptop. So I was like tweeting off my phone downstairs. And then the second half, I was like, whatever. Like we're chilling. Like who actually cares? But Laptop gate continued, Jack. Got the laptop, it broke. And just
What's their situation now, Brett? You going to Apple Store or?
Did Marty
gotta-
break it since he left it?
yeah, he broke it. No, I didn't break it. I broke it.
Marty.
Nah, it's all good now. Laptop gates is
Laptop
it's
gate,
finished. We're good now.
Okay.
Laptop gate's over. We're all set. Ad break brought to you by Bigelow Tea.
And Jack's hair.
I didn't get the time mark. That's okay though. We're back. We're about an hour in. We just had AJ on. I got to be honest. That was fucking dope. That was so dope.
He's a good dude. He knows his stuff, and it's always a good time shooting.
You know what I always found funny too is like so I used to I wrote for AJ back. That's like how I kind of got started, was writing for him. So helpful. Like I would send him stuff, and he would chop it up and basically format it correctly. Awesome guy. But it was always funny, especially like probably when I first started / last year, whenever, last year, people would always be like, "Oh, what do you think you're AJ Black?" I'm like, dude, I wish I could be half of what AJ Black is. It's a compliment. I don't know
how he does all of what he does.
Trying to insult me.
The daily pod, man. We struggle just to do this on a weekly basis. So it's like
I know. Yeah.
I know.
Hey, we're in the group chat texting can we do Thursday? Can we do Friday? I can't do Friday. Can we do Sunday?
Yeah.
AJ's on it.
He's like
AJ.
every
AJ's
day.
AJ's like, yeah, you bozos. I do it. I do this daily.
He's like, I already have 2 already recorded. What are you talking?
Yeah. And I wrote 3 articles today. Catch up.
And he's got all his scoops from God knows where. I don't know where.
I know.
The contacts, dude.
When he drops a scoop, it's like nice. It's a heater too. When he drops the GIF, something good. Something good just happened.
Like today, when he was when he was saying about the flip that the staff got on this new recruit.
I'm sure.
I didn't know that was unofficial. I thought that was just kind of a.
I'm sure we could do some context clues on the side. We're not going to break. We're not going to take it. But I'm sure you could look up.
Yeah,
I'm sure you could look up
go on the board, folks.
Hopefully he can be come here for the Syracuse game in time. We got a bye week, so
yeah, we need it. Speaking of Syracuse, great transition, Jack. Appreciate that.
Oh yeah, of course.
Kyle McCord is fucking trash.
Fraud.
Kyle McCord is actually whack. Syracuse 5-2, 2-2 in ACC play. They are under a first-year head coach as well. They have seen a little bit of success. They beat Georgia Tech, who was ranked 23rd at the time. So they have a couple good wins. They lost Stanford in a close one. They beat UNLV. So they have 2 ranked wins on the year. They got absolutely thrashed by Pitt last week. Pitt's so good. That sucks.
Yeah, Pitt's
for
very
us.
good.
Pitt's good.
That very much
great matchup because both teams hadn't played anyone, so you didn't really know going into that, and then you came out of it Pitt's legit and Cuse is fraudy looking.
Yeah.
Ever since BC stopped getting votes, I haven't really been paying attention to the AP poll. But
yeah, I agree.
Do you guys know has Cuse been getting votes prior to the Pitt game? Had they been in the mix kind of? But
no idea.
I
They probably have. They were 5-1.
Believe it or not, BC was ranked. Cuse never was ranked this year, I believe.
No, but I'm saying had they been getting votes?
Yeah, they had votes. Up to the Pitt game, they had a good amount of votes. They were right outside.
No, yeah, because I kind of had the idea that they were kind of in the periphery of that. So they seem solid, but that Pitt game, man. Yeah, I was I was watching from a bowling alley. I was going bowling.
Yeah, you were.
Every time I looked over my shoulder to check the game, there's another pick 6. It was ridiculous.
I couldn't believe that either. Yeah, it's just was it 5 picks?
He had 5 picks, and 3 of them went back for touchdowns.
6. Jeez, that's insane.
They had him throwing the ball 64 times or something. Which, if you don't, that's crazy. Yeah.
That's Yeah.
I don't know. Hope our secondary is hope they're up for it. We'll see.
Well,
I have a
looks
feeling they're
like
going to get a pick though. There's a good chance for a pick. That's
Mac.
What?
We gotta give the people their previews.
Their previews.
LaQuint Allen. What?
No, I was just saying one more thing about McCord, and I wanted to ask you guys, kind of going into this first year head coach for Q2 and McCord coming from Ohio State. I thought that was a huge overreaction for McCord going there and being like, "Oh, Cuse is going to go to the college football playoffs," and it seems to me like I was pretty right as far as Cuse is still very kind of in a similar place to BC. First year head coach, a lot of a few years before they kind of can maybe play at a high level, and that's kind of what I saw.
Yeah, but I mean, they just got thumped, but they have 2 ranked wins and they're 5-2, so they're actually in a better spot than us. I would say
way better start for this year. Yeah,
I mean, and Kyle McCord outside of that, like, I mean, he had a fucking awful game, but I mean, before that, he was 19-5 touchdown interceptions. Like, he's having a good year. Outside of that,
Also,
throwing a
like
bunch of
him coming
yards.
from Ohio State, I thought he had a bit of an unceremonious exit from there, but like he went like 12-1 as a starter at Ohio State. So I don't like he's not like I don't think he's fraudulent to the point that like Brett was saying
Yeah.
that DJU was. I think
Right.
I think he's like actually he's a pretty good quarterback. It was just kind of
Yeah.
I mean,
they
he's
kind of
definitely
just
not
went to a buzzsaw last weekend.
definitely not going to throw 5 picks again. That's for sure.
No, not to our secondary. No.
I'm looking at it now, guys. So we play them November 9th, Syracuse at home. They haven't announced because the ACC conference wants to be difficult with fans and have pushed. We won't know when we're going to play this game until the Sunday after this Saturday coming up. So until the games are played, we're not going to know when we're playing Q. So it could be a noon game. It could be a 7:30 game. I bet it's going to be probably a noon game, but we'll see. And for some reason, ESPN Analytics has us winning this game 68% over Syracuse, 32%.
Yeah.
Do you guys think we're the favorites? Do you think we're the favorites going into this game?
No, I never trust it. Like, are you looking at the wheel on the website? Yeah, I never trust that wheel.
It's never right. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's as far off as I felt like Louisville was going to be. Like I thought we were going to lose by like 10 to Louisville. I mean, we lost by 4 or whatever. But I feel like this game has the potential. Like we have a week off. Like, I think it has the potential to be like a close-ish game. We're home.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't think we're gonna. I'm not thinking we're gonna get blown out. But yeah, I certainly wouldn't have us as like heavy favorites the way ESPN is having us.
I will say, guys, we were pretty on the ball. Me and Jack were real close to our scoring position. Unfortunately,
we're not there. We're not there yet, pal.
I'm just saying.
What was your? Did you guess 38-31? Is that your guess last week?
I said 38-31. So
yeah.
Didn't think that's how it was going to happen, though. Obviously, but it ended up.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
All right, LaQuint Allen, running back.
Yeah.
481 yards, averaging 4.4 yards a carry. He also does some damage, it looks like, as a receiver, too. He's got 37 catches for 274 yards. So it looks like he's kind of like a dual type of back. Yeah. He's really their only. Yeah, he's their only one. They don't have anyone else. Their second leading rusher, Yazin Willis, has got only 28 carries, 106 yards. So they're a huge passing team. Jackson Meeks, 43 catches, 512 yards, 4 touchdowns. Orande Gadsden, 35 catches, 466 yards. So, I mean, those are guys that we're going to have to watch out for. They're going to be going through the air. They're going to really look to pick on the secondary. Obviously, we already know the deal. BC rushes 4. Bend don't break defense. What worries me is that they're really going to open up the top on BC. And I think that's going to create a lot of problems. I think so that's why I'm surprised that they have us, as 60-something% chance to win the game when it doesn't look like we match up all too well with them. I suppose we'll see, but just from an offensive perspective, they do look explosive, and I would expect Kyle McCord to. I don't think they're coming off a bye week, but I do expect him to bounce back and really kind of take it to us next week.
They have weapons, man. Like you just said, Brett. Meeks and Payne are definitely their wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. It looks like Gladson the second, their tight end. They use him a lot. He's got 466 yards on the season, 3 touchdowns. So expect him, I'm assuming, in the red zone to be a total threat there. So if you're looking at red zone threats, that's what I'm looking at the most, because when you talk about Tim Lewis's defense with the bend don't break, I'm just worried about their execution in the red zone and being able to put up touchdowns, because I think the way we win this game is them kicking field goals. And I have faith in this defense to be able to get off the field. But again, it's going to come down to the offense. But I think the secondary has been playing decently. They've been somewhat consistent as keeping the opposing team out of the red zone, or out of the end zone, I should say. So I think that's what I'm looking at the most here. Sorry, Jack, to cut you off there.
No. I mean, I was just gonna say, like, Kyle McCord is averaging like 50 passing attempts a game. Like, we know what they're gonna do. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me like who's out there. Like, they're gonna throw the ball. Like, they're gonna test us for the top. And if our defense, or if our special teams keeps giving up short fields to our defense and kind of leaves our guys out to dry, then it's not going to take much for 1 or 2 plays to turn into points. So I mean, and we're sitting here, like, we know what's going to happen. I'm sure our guys have 2 weeks to prepare. They know, like, Kyle McCord, like, despite what you saw against Pitt, he's a very good quarterback, very capable of throwing the ball. And no, yeah, he's really going to test his secondary. And like you said, Mac, they've looked. I thought, like, despite the loss of Lamar Jackson, they've looked all right. Like Ashton McGee, true freshman, he's been getting tons of snaps. So like they're a bit on the younger side now without Lamar Jackson, but yeah, they're really gonna test the secondary. So I think that's pretty much all it comes what their offense kind of comes down to there.
Before we close up, Jack, you got any basketball thoughts?
Yeah.
Today's Monday, so we're 6 days, 22 hours out from opening tip against Citadel.
Sure are.
I got no idea what this rotation is going to look like. I mean, we got so many new faces. You got Deion Brown, Chad Venning, Roger McFarland, Josh Beadle, like tons of new faces. Lots of we know, everyone knows lots of guys left between Quentin Post, McLaughlin, Mason Madison, Jay-Z. So it's a whole new year, and they're probably not going to be winning 20 games like they did last year. It's probably going to be closer to their 2021-22 season, where they won 6-14, or I don't know if they're going to 6-14 the conference this year, but it's a
what was that, 13 wins that year?
Yeah, they won 6-14, 13-20 overall, I think.
Yeah.
You think a reasonable goal would be to get to the ACC tournament? Do you think they'll get into that, Jack, or is that?
I mean, I'm not locked into the rest of the ACC, but I think I don't think this team sucks as much as like Jim Christian's last team did. I do think they have talentless roster between Deion Brown and like some of the other, I think one of Chaz Kelly and Donald Hand, like if they want to be competitive, one of those 2 guys is going to have to make a big jump, and I think at least one of them will.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, it's a fun preseason because like there's a lot of guessing on what this team's going to look like, what's going to happen. Mostly people guessing like negatively, but it's a lot of unknowns. So yeah, we'll see what it looks like in a week. I actually on that train, on that thought, took a trip to Providence for one of their exhibition games.
Okay.
all these colleges have been doing like these exhibition games against other teams.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know it was
Yeah.
like I don't know if that's like not if that's like allowed now. I guess it is.
I
But
guess, yeah.
I took a trip down to Providence, and I don't know how locked into Providence you guys are, but they have a ton of new faces too. And they looked pretty bad. Providence did.
Really?
Against
Really?
yeah, I mean they have a ton of new like they rested a lot of their guys, and they have a ton of
Yeah.
new pieces. So
They
I'm
lost
kind
a
of
lot of
worried
starters.
that
They lost starters,
Yeah,
Jack.
they lost
Which-
they lost Devin Carter, who's
Yeah.
the star point guard, Josh
Mhm.
Adoro, Tika Gaines. No, so like I saw Providence look not that good, so I'm kind of worried. We got a lot of new guys who aren't supposed to be that good in the first place. So I'm kind of worried. The Citadel took us down to the wire last season, so
Yeah.
Took some Jay-Z heroics.
it did. It took some Jay-Z heroics, some Devin McLaughlin heroics, two guys we don't have. So
Nope.
I'm a little nervous for opening night. But
Sure.
I'm at this point with no games played, no losses in the standings yet. I'm mostly excited, and I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that I think could be fun to watch this season. So
I think it'll be a fun season. There'll be some storylines to
yeah, it's a
and I
fun
think
take what you can get season. Like if they
Yeah.
beat like Notre Dame at home. I don't know. I forget if they play Notre Dame at home this year, but if they beat any ACC win at home, it's gonna be fun. I think it's gonna be
Yeah.
that kind of season. House money, no real expectations. So
Yeah.
we'll see how people progress over the course of the year, see who kind of like fits in and
yeah,
who actually
yeah,
catches on. Yeah, I think it'll be
yeah.
fun.
We'll see like Elijah Strong. Like he didn't play much early in the year. He kind of came on in like the end of the year
Elijah
postseason.
Strong. I remember I was at the Providence game last year when
Yeah.
that was Elijah Strong game. That was awesome.
Yeah, no, that was awesome. No, but yeah. So we'll see if he takes like a sophomore leap. He came in as like he was 17 when he started, so he's
Mhm.
he's still very raw. So I think he's got a lot of potential.
Yeah.
And
Jaden
yeah, we'll
Hastings.
see. Yeah, Jaden Hastings hasn't played a minute yet, but
Yeah.
he's certainly got the tools. He's very physically gifted. So
Yeah.
I think there's gonna be storylines, stuff to get excited about. So
And they're still going, Jack. Obviously, I don't know as much about the scheme as you do. But I do know Grant likes to do the 4 guard set. Is that still going to be I assume going into 2024? That's his.
It's gonna have to be.
no, yeah, they're gonna.
Like,
I mean, they only have.
He doesn't have enough bigs to not do that.
Yeah, this
right?
roster. I mean, I don't know what they're gonna. Like this roster, they only have 4. They only have 4 forwards on the roster between
Right.
it's,
Yeah, there you
Elijah
go.
Strong,
Right.
Chad Venning, Jaden Hastings, and Connie Tchanda.
Mhm.
So they're gonna have to. I mean, last year they shifted from like a 2 guard to a 3 guard starting lineup when they added Mason Madsen in, and they kind of could get away with that because Quentin Post and Devin McLaughlin were 2 very good interior defenders, 2 very good rebounders.
Yeah.
But they don't have those guys, so it'll be interesting to see how they balance personnel in terms of like running those 3 and 4 guard lineups versus the kind of play style that Grant wants to run. Because Grant
Mhm.
said at media day that they want to play fast. They want to play to their strengths, which right now is speed, getting out in transition.
Yeah.
Gonna have to be.
It's gonna have to be. So
All in.
yeah. We'll see how that goes. But it'll be fun.
Fun to watch. It'll be fun to watch.
to see it in person finally. So
Yeah.
Any final thoughts from you, Mac?
Final thoughts is just stinks. Obviously, 2 bye weeks. We had 2 pretty rough losses going into them. So we had just
Yeah.
kind of after that, you're the only thing that could help is getting back out there. So it just stinks. We have to kind of wait a little bit longer. But again, we kind of talked about this throughout the podcast. I think for most fans, I think the thing to look forward to is the off season and recruiting and following kind of what they're doing, because like Jack said at the way beginning, I think it was episode 1, 6-6 is a solid first year, and now we're kind of thinking, holy crap, I hope we get to 6-6, because if we don't
I don't think
go
we do.
bowling, it's going to be rough. And I think when you look at the last 4 games, you're going against 2 ranked opponents, and the other 2 are,
Strong.
solidly mid-tier, if
Strong.
not stronger in the ACC. So, you hope you get a win, and at best you hope you get a couple wins and go to a bowl game. And so I'm thinking all I want to see at some point in the next 4 games is a 60-minute performance and putting it all together. That would be the ideal. Like one of these games, we can see that, and then try to go into the off season and rebuild and get some of those players that you kind of expect and that Bill O'Brien kind of can work with. So that's kind of my last take on that. But hey, still for Boston always, and we got basketball coming up. It's the fall, and it's still good to be alive here.
Good to be alive. That's where we're at.
Like and subscribe. Eagles Daily on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Always like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow the Twitter handle, the Instagram handle. They're both Eagles Daily BC and the podcast Eagles Weekly BC. I never do this, so I'm just, remembering now. So yeah, follow the socials, follow us, keep up to date with everything. The podcast, especially with basketball coming out, there'll be a lot of articles and content coming out for me and Jack for basketball season. Excited about that, as well as Mac and Quinn, everyone else, Anthony with football and hockey. So a lot of stuff coming down the pipe. Eagles Daily BC, Eagles Weekly BC. It's on all the socials. It's the same. You'll find us. But yeah, I think that's it. Episode 12, the Matt Ryan episode. I wish there was a little bit better of a vibe to it, but it's in the books. And go Eagles.
Go Eagles.
Go Eagles.